Welcome. Again, this lesson's about Article 1, Congress. But first, let's review what is the economic system in the United States. That's right, capitalist or a market economy. What is the rule of law? What does that mean? That means that everybody, including the leaders in government, must follow the law. There's not one set of laws for one people and one for another. Name one branch or part of the government. I'll give you a hint, there's three of them. You just have to name one. Congress, legislative, president, executive, judicial, the courts. And what stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful? Checks and balances and separation of powers. So keeping them separate, that's good. And we're going to review what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Congress. And who makes federal laws? Well, Congress, the name of the legislature, or the Senate and House Representatives. And what are two parts of the U.S. Congress? Start at the end there, the Senate and the House of Representatives. We're going to focus on the House first here. And the House of Representatives has how many voting members? How many people are in it? I'll give you a hint, it's a few hundred. 435. And we elect a U.S. representative for how many years? It's actually not that long. 2 years. And why do some states have more representatives than other states? Representatives are done by population. So because some states have more people or population. If you have more people, you have more representatives. What is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives right now? You may have heard of him in the news. John Boehner. And the next one is name your U.S. representative. You can go to house.gov, type in your zip code, and it'll tell you who it is. Looking at the Senate, how many senators are there? And I'll give you a hint, there's 2 from each state. 2 from each state. So how many do you think that would be? 100. 100. And we elect a U.S. senator for how many years? How long are they in office for? 6. And so they're in there for a long time, for a while, and that was on purpose. And who does the U.S. Senator represent? He represents all the people of the state. And again, the question is going to ask who's one of your state's U.S. senators now. You can go to www.senate.gov and you can find out, you put in your state and it'll tell you who your senators are. Again, for the House of Representatives, they're elected every 2 years. They wanted a short span when they created the Constitution so that they would be very responsive to the people. And the House of Representatives was elected right from the beginning by the people. If you could vote in the state, you could vote for whoever your representative was in the House of Representatives. They wanted to represent the people's will. And excuse me, it's kind of rough and rowdy. I'm going to show a clip here where it kind of shows it's typical of how things can get heated in the House of Representatives. Now, it's not to say this happens every day, but it is known to happen on occasion. They're just arguing about a procedural matter here. They're wanting to talk about, the Republicans want to talk about a Democratic congressman who didn't act too well, and they want to stop him.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that by his actions on August 3rd, 2007, a gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Murtha, has brought dishonor and discredit to the United States House of Representatives by misusing the powers of the chair.
What purpose does the gentleman from Maryland rise?
Madam Speaker,
Enough is enough. I move to table the resolution.
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I raise a point of order that the gentleman from Maryland engaged in debate.
Question is on the motion to table. The question is on the motion to table. All those in favor say aye.
Parliamentary inquiry. Parliamentary inquiry. Parliamentary inquiry. Parliamentary inquiry.
All those opposed say no.
Parliamentary inquiry, Madam Speaker. Parliamentary inquiry. Parliamentary inquiry.
The leader will be heard.
Madam Speaker, isn't it correct that the gentleman from Maryland engaged in debate, which allows the House to then proceed of up to 1 hour of debate on this resolution?
The chair did not yet rule that the question constitutes a question of privilege.
No, the question is on the motion to table.
The question is on the motion to table. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, on that I ask to demand the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will approach their vote by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote.
So you can see it was pretty wild. On the Senate, in contrast, they're elected every 6 years. They wanted a long time to have them be just like kind of stable. They were originally selected by the state legislature, but after they passed the 17th Amendment, senators were elected directly by the people. It's meant to cool the legislation, kind of known like, the House can get all riled up and it goes to the Senate and just kind of like waits, and it's kind of represented in the clip we're going to show, where it just like it's night and day difference from the House, where they just kind of like are nice to each other. It's like they're all members of an elite golf club, and they're just like try to be polite to each other, and the debate is a little different as you'll see.
And you run the list of all of the former secretaries of state on the Republican side, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice. They all support this treaty. The military supports this treaty. The leader of the Strategic Command, current and the past former 7, support this treaty. The national intelligence community supports this treaty. So I really hope that in these waning days of this session, as we approach this holiday season, which is so focused on the concept of renewal and hope and peace, that we could find the ability in the United States Senate to embrace in a bipartisan way the security interests of our country.
I think that in today's world, because of changing conditions, we really should be as much focused on a couple of other, well, at least 2 other issues, one being the missile defense issue, which we talked about at great length yesterday, and the other is the relationship between strategic and tactical weapons. And frankly, we have been pacifying the Russians regarding missile defense and regarding strategic versus tactical weapons in order to get these treaties.
So you can see there's a little bit of difference here. A lot more calm in the Senate, a lot more respectful. So just an overview of Congress, who makes the federal laws. Congress, legislature, Senate, House Representatives. Either of those answers is good. What are the two parts? The U.S. Congress, the Senate, and the House Representatives. You can see they're different. The House Representatives, review of them. House of Representatives has how many voting members? That's right, 435. We elect a U.S. representative for how many years? That's right, 2. And why do some states have more representatives than other states? Because some states have more people or population. And what is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives right now? John Boehner. And name your U.S. representative. You can go to house.gov, type in your zip code upper right hand corner, and it'll tell you who it is. For the Senate, how many U.S. senators are there? That's right, that's 100. And we elect a U.S. senator for how many years? It's longer than the House of Representatives. It's for 6. Who does the U.S. senator represent? All the people of the state. And who's one of your state's U.S. senators now? Again, just go to www.senate.gov, upper right hand corner, and pick your state. It'll tell you. Next time I'll talk about the powers of Congress and the highlights. You can just read the credits and resources right there. If you go to senate.gov, it can also give you an overview. It's kind of a long URL right there, but just look. It gives a good overview of how the Senate works and how the Senate cools the legislative process. Kind of gives you a flavor for it. And again, feel free to share this. Thank you very much.